The tension in the Newman home is broken in chapter 1325 by a knock at the door. They are running behind schedule for the banquet, so Mr. Newman begs his wife, Mrs. Newman, to hurry. The tension in the home, which is already high as the Newmans get ready to go, is made much worse by the expectation of the important event. The family's eldest daughter, Cameron, finds herself in the middle of her mother's ire. Mrs. Newman, renowned for her quick temper and propensity to favor her other daughter Carrie, aims her annoyance at Cameron. She critiques Cameron's sluggish motions and asks how she can support herself with her vision handicap. Cameron doesn't seem to be bothered by her mother's remarks, though, and she continues to keep quiet. Mr. Newman makes an effort to diffuse the conflict between his wife and stepdaughter after noticing it. Cameron is reassured that her mother's wrath shouldn't be taken personally by him as he steps in, gently correcting his wife. He makes it clear that Cameron's slower stair climbing is a result of her vision impairment and advises her to take her time. Mr. Newman's words provide a small sign of sympathy in the usually tense family. The disparity in treatment between Cameron and her sister becomes more obvious as she makes her slow way down the stairs while being supported by the handrail. Cameron receives little recognition or admiration from her mother, whilst Mrs. Newman prioritizes Carrie and compliments her beauty. She feels invisible and ignored in her own house as a result of this unfair treatment, which widens the gap between her and her family. Her family members, who have grown accustomed to Cameron's quiet demeanor, are familiar with her reserved character. In order to protect herself from additional conflict and disappointment, she finds comfort in remaining silent. Mrs. Newman is trying to get her daughter to react, but she doesn't seem to be responding, which seems to make her more frustrated. The relationships of the family, meantime, become even more complicated as the meal approaches. The attendees are abuzz with rumors and conjecture on Zachary York's and Serenity's attendance at the event. Mrs. Newman, eager to highlight the success and attractiveness of her own daughter, becomes more and more consumed with comparisons and jealousy. As she strives to shape her daughter into a more socially acceptable image, she becomes more fixated with Cameron's alleged flaws. The Newman family eventually makes it to the feast, as tensions are rising and indifference is dominating. Cameron and her family continue to stay emotionally apart from one another, nevertheless. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation as they enter the great affair, and the evening's unfolding events promise to provide Cameron with new complexity and difficulties as she attempts to find her position in her family and the larger social environment.